Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and this is something a little different to show you, and it's something that some people will probably expect me to have ordered, and it is the Figma tracer, or rather two of them, one for me, one for a friend. So I'm going to take off the bubble wrap and then we can have a look at the figure in detail. So this is Tracer as she comes out of the box. So we have the figure of Tracer herself. You have the alternate face masks with different expressions, two pulse pistols, and then you have her time bomb, which actually comes from the back of her coronal accelerator. And in the bottom you get the stand, the instructions, and a few other bits and pieces such as alternate hands to hold the guns. So let's open it up. And there shouldn't be any tape on here, because obviously it's small internal, and her time bomb has already decided to come off. So I'm going to open up this bit first. So that is empty. Oh, it's an actual figure for all the spare parts. So once you take them out of the sealed bag, you can actually fit them into that bag. So here we have all the bag of bits, and there's the instructions in Japanese. Well, I'll just open it up, but it's in Japanese, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So you get Tracer herself, the stand parts, and then 4 different hands, 8 different hands, 4 for each hand. It also shows you what bits to use and what to change it out. So her stand actually fits into the back of the coronal accelerator rather interestingly. Anyway, let's start assembly. So obviously we've now seen a few photos of what the figure is capable of. So what do I think of the model? It's a very nice model, very much up to the usual Figma standards of high quality, wide posability, and a few other bits and pieces. For a change from Figma's though, well, I've just knocked the cardboard sort of screen drop back. If I tilt it forward, there's actually Blizzard terms and conditions underneath. This is actually upside down, so my apologies. It's essentially a copyright 2017 Blizzard Entertainment, you know, Overwatch is copyrighted, etc, etc. So a little discussion about the joints. You have one for the toe area of each foot. You obviously have the ankle joint, you obviously have the knee joint. Then you've got the double hip joint. So I say double hip joint because there's actually 2 joints in one, just for the hip. You've then got a bally socket style one in the middle of the torso, just below the coronal accelerator. So this top bit of the torso is actually a separate assembly to the bottom bit. You've then got one in the shoulders, the elbows obviously. You've then got a sort of like a ball joint in the wrists, and then that leads into a little spike for the hand. And in actual fact, this part here is actually a spare wrist joint for the hands to go into. So should one break, you've actually got a spare, which is very thoughtful for Figma, I must say. The one thing I will say, and this is no real point against Figma, but I have actually broken Tracer already. I've had her over the box, or out of the box, say, for less than 5 minutes, and I've already broken her. The reason I broke her was that there was a lot of plastic sort of cellophane wrapping, little with holes in. So the reason why I did that is because there's one for each of these ankle, just above where the foot, so where the foot joins the actual leg on the wrist, on the ankle. There's ones around those. There's ones where the just between the actual cuffs of her jacket and the actual jacket itself. There's one there, on each side. There's one right in the middle, between the top of the torso and the bottom of the torso, and that's the one that caused the issue, because I was actually twisting it to try and separate them to get that plastic out without breaking it. Because I do like to be a bit careful. And then I actually broke the peg, which actually retains the top of the tracer to the actual waist part and below. So in actual fact, this Figma is now actually in two separate parts, which is my own fault, I must admit. But out of all the Figmas, that is a bit of a detractor. And I think that's partly for a couple of reasons. Partly the fact that the figure is actually that new. It's got that very nice, if you like it, new plastic smell, and new paint smell, and new chemical smell. It was all that combined to create that very nice, very faint, admittedly, but in my opinion, very nice new model smell. So clearly it's very factory fresh. It's not particularly warm, I must say. So perhaps that's a bit of an issue, because it does actually say in the instructions, because there is an English side as well, I've realised that, is that if you're having issues with your Figma or parts or modifying them, put them in hot water, or soak them in hot water for a bit to make them pliable. I've actually had to do that with the hands in this pose to get the actual guns in, because the fingers and the thumb almost close into a grip. So you have to ply it open so you can spread the fingers and the thumb slightly away from each other to just about get the actual handle of the guns in for that purpose. And obviously the back of the figure, it's very much the same standard as the rest of the figure. The sculpt, I must admit, is actually fantastic. You can actually see the joints in the knee there. And for those querying, yes, it does look pretty much just like the real figure, especially with, and I must say, that ass. So obviously you can see the actual joint into the back of the chrono accelerator here. So obviously this is designed to be posed like this. And I must say, the chrono accelerator itself does look very good. It doesn't quite stick to a figure. These white bits here should be more flush to the figure. So that, I don't know how well I'm going to show you this, but they are actually coming away slightly. And they should pretty much be pressed against her chest. Especially if you look in the real game, or at least against her jacket a bit more tightly. So that is a bit of a negative. And the bits on the shoulder, I believe, are slightly big again. So you can sort of see, and I can't really show very easily, but you can sort of see there's actually a bit of a gap there. And again, I believe they should actually be flush to the jacket as well to actually keep the chrono accelerator in place. And the one other detractor, and this is not my fault actually, is that when I was changing the faceplate around from the stock one that the figure actually comes with, is that the goggle piece actually just fell off from a lack of glue. So again, another bit of a detractor, but nothing major. I think the biggest one was actually me just breaking the joint. The one with the goggles is actually fixable. But to be honest, she actually kind of looks better without the goggles in some poses. So I might just actually leave that off. So when I change it round, you can do a few other bits and pieces. So for the hands, you actually get obviously 4 per one. So they can be used for different things. So saluting, holds with the guns like this, throw it off a pulse bomb, etc., etc. So she's a very poseable figure. And I must say, like up to the usual Figma standard, there's a bit of a one or two minor niggles obviously with the assembly. The paint application on this face, there's a few blemishes. So the goggle, I think it was, and there's a bit marked to the face. Whether that's actual paint blemish or not, I don't know. I need to investigate that. But again, if you're going to buy a Figma tracer, and you're knowing about it, I definitely suggest it. But obviously, like a lot of the collectibles and Figmas especially, although this is the first one I've had it off, you'll do need to be a bit careful, obviously because of the possibility of breaking one. So if I was going to give it a mark out of 100, I'd definitely give it a 90 to 95. It's very good, but you know, there do need to be, in my opinion, a few tweaks, especially to the way it's packaged with the bits of cellophane, which don't actually need to be there, in my opinion. But anyway, that's it for this review of Tracer, and I'm Matt, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.